Jason Oweh won that game last night. I don't know if you guys realize that. That game was over. Pat Mahomes was marching to end the game, and Dave, he went ahead and not only stripped LaVar, but he recovered it as well.
How relieved are you if you're Baltimore and you see Patrick Mahomes handing the ball off? Down, if they're down, they need to score.
You weren't relieved though, because you just knew it was over. I mean, they were just running down the clock so that they didn't have enough time to win. That's all that was. They were just marching down the field to run the clock out, get a field goal, and get up out of there.
Yeah.
And Oweh changed the game.
Where's he from?
Yeah, Penn State, baby.
Oh, okay.
Where the whiteout is.
I do think there's something to be said for what you just said, though. Like, I don't want to say they were playing conservative. I think most teams would have both played that way. But Lamar Jackson, John Harbaugh played that game in every instance to win. They weren't conservative. They took chances, clearly going for on the 4th and 1, too. I mean, there was a number of things I think they did that it's been their style, I think, over the past either a couple or a few years now, especially as how aggressive they are on 4th downs. But they played the type of style, at least offensively, to go win the game. And I think the other thing on defense, you talk about Oweh, Don Martindale usually brings a lot of pressure, and I think that was one of my concerns, like, in talking about this game, is if you pressure them too much, like, it's going to allow them to be some big plays behind it. And he really was more patient. They really did try to play back a little bit. They took their time, at times to take pressure, but for the most part, man, they actually kind of changed up a little bit of who they are defensively, and they allowed on someone like Odafe Oweh to go make a play for him, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that I think too makes you think like they might have a shot this year. Like if this game wasn't in the regular season, obviously Baltimore would be moving on. You'd say, okay, wow, that's the team that I think is going to win the AFC. But because it's in the regular season,
it's like they pulled
exactly.
It out.
Yeah. Like I watched this, and as much as it's a great win for Baltimore at home. And maybe I'm crazy, I still think Kansas City is the team to beat the 100%. AFC. Like, I don't care anything about these two head up right now.
Absolutely. It meant more for Baltimore to get that win than it was Kansas City losing it. I mean, let's be clear about that. I mean, I know they did get a little bit conservative towards the end, but they weren't to get where they were. Right? That last drive, they did everything that they needed to do to put themselves in the position to just run the clock down. He was dicing them up. He diced them up all the way down to the point of where it was just run the ball, run the clock out. You just can't fumble the ball. You got to protect the ball in those situations, no matter what. I don't care what the circumstance is. You can't carry the ball with enough air in between your arm and your body for someone to poke the ball out. Can't do it. You can't do it. So, of course, any coach in that situation would have just ran the ball right straight down the center of the defense because you're already in field goal range. We're going to just run this clock out. Baltimore had no timeouts left. It was a dire situation. Like, you were literally going to leave Lamar Jackson in that offense with probably less than a minute on the clock.
What do you guys think is a worse feeling? Missing a kick to win a game or fumbling a ball and losing a game?
That fumble that's got to hurt. That's got to be way worse. Because kickers, whatever you want to call them, they're people too, like I say. Hey, listen, don't let me get it wrong. But, that's what they do. If they miss a field goal, it's like, that's a part of it. You got to understand that's a 50-50 proposition when you see that dude go out there on the field.
I love how dismissive you are of them.
You hurt them if you're not.
Yeah.
If you're not able to comprehend what a kicker does from the standpoint of it's a 50-50 proposition, and you got to move on from it. I kind of blame my career. I've told you guys this story before. I kind of blame the failure of my pro career on a lack of kicking because it totally changed the trajectory of what I had going on. Because if we had a field goal kicker, we might have competed for a Super Bowl my rookie year. That's how good our team was. But we were losing games by like 1 point, 2 points, 3 points. That was our point average like on losing games my rookie year, and it was because we would have a field goal kicker or say we would lose a game by like a touchdown, but we would have like 4 missed field goal or field goal attempts in the game, like easy field goal attempts, not like what they doing these days. It's like you cross the 50-yard line, dudes is chipping in
Matt Prater
kicks from the logo on the field. Like it wasn't like that. These were easy kicks, and they were missing them. So anyway, you handle a field goal kicker, a kicker, simply as to what they are. But when a running back, when a guy that is in the mix and they're a part of the fabric of your team, a starting back, dependable back, fumbles, that's a heartbreaker.
Yeah,
that's a heartbreaker.
Yeah, let me listen. I care about the feelings of
jumping off sides. How about we had like a couple dudes, or we had, the one didn't go against them, but I mean, you had like a couple people jumping off sides on these field goals, man. Like that Giants deal, like that's crazy.
Well, if you go back and look at, there's some people that are speculating that he timed that perfectly. Was it Dexter Lawrence? Is that the other player?
I kind of agree.
It looked like it was about perfect. The only thing I don't know,
agree,
because when you see that video, it's from behind. And that doesn't tell you anything because they're trying to like sync up when he moves with the snap. You really would need to be at the line of scrimmage and have an angle to look at it that way, because it does look like he's close to the neutral zone. And so maybe even if he moved just a little bit early, he might already be crossing it before it's snapped. But, back to the Kansas City-Baltimore thing, I think the reason, too, why I feel like it's not just the fact that Baltimore struggled in the postseason, and we've obviously seen Kansas City win a Super Bowl, go to Super Bowls, win the AFC. It's the way Kansas City can do it. It's when Patrick Mahomes kind of scrambles and flicks it out to Travis Kelce for like 5 yards downfield, and then he takes that to the house. Like we see that so often with like the big playability in the passing game. And last night there was some of that too, I think, with Lamar and with Baltimore. We just don't see it enough, and I think it's tougher for them to get those because it takes him running the football the way he did throughout that game in order to get those looks, right? I mean,
True.
as a defender, LaVar, like if you're not like all out, sold out on stopping the quarterback run game, which means you just have man-to-man at times. You got no safety help.
Right.
Like it is an 11-on-11 game if you have a quarterback that can run like Lamar. Like these defenses, now they haven't had to yet. But if Baltimore was Kansas City, meaning they'd won a Super Bowl, they'd been to AFC Championship game, Super Bowl, and won those and gone to the Super Bowl, even though they lost last year. If they were in that position, I think you'd see more defenses adapting to sometimes what we see at college, like more quarters, more zero looks, more variations of different defenses to stop him, which puts those DBs on islands, and it's a tough place to be.
It's tough.
But we don't see it that often because they haven't been able to successfully throw from the pocket. And like last night was an example. Tyrann Mathieu with the pick six early. Yeah. I know there's the slip and the miscommunication, Sammy Watkins, but dude, that last pick was awful to Tyrann Mathieu. Yeah. And they were in field goal range there. There's still that doubt in my mind of, okay, when it matters most in the playoffs, it's sudden death. Can he get it done? It was a phenomenal win last night. Take your hats off, give him credit. But if these two teams face off again, I still feel like Kansas City is going to end up winning.
It's just if he's healthy. I mean, if he can stay healthy, it's going to go either way. I mean, and you're right by reasoning, but you just can't account for him. It just is what it is. Like you have not, as a defense, the NFL has not figured out how to defense him well enough to make them less dimensional. Like if you try to stop Lamar, he's going to make you pay in some other way, even if it's not consistently from being a pocket passing quarterback. And that's the hardest proposition that exists. That's the conundrum that exists for this Baltimore Ravens team. It's like what you need to stop, but can you stop it?
Yeah.
And that was how it was with Mike Vick for quite some time. And this might even be a worse situation you're dealing with and trying to deal with a running quarterback